4 boxes: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You have drawn this grid in a classroom, in a boardroom, on the first page of a business plan. It is the most famous strategy tool on earth. Almost every person who has ever studied business has filled in a SWOT. It feels like strategy. It looks like strategy. But tonight we ask a dangerous question. Is it strategy at all? Tonight SWOT goes on trial. The charge: that the world's favorite strategy tool was never really strategy, and that in the age of AI, it has finally been exposed.
To put it on trial, you have to know where it came from. SWOT was born at the Stanford Research Institute in the 1960s, funded by Fortune 500 companies asking one desperate question: why does corporate planning keep failing? The irony is almost too perfect. It wasn't even called SWOT. The original was SOFT, presented in Zurich in 1964. Someone swapped the F for a W, the famous 4-box grid was bolted on years later, and a legend was born. The promise: anyone could do strategy in 10 minutes. And here is how it works: 2 simple cuts. Inside the company versus the outside world, good versus bad, strengths inside and good, weaknesses inside and bad, opportunities outside and good, threats outside and bad, clean, intuitive, impossible to forget. That simplicity is exactly why it conquered the planet. It is in every MBA syllabus, every business plan template, every consultant's first slide, free, fast, and universal. No tool in business history has ever spread further.
But a tool is only as good as what it actually does. So we called 2 witnesses, one for the defense to tell you why SWOT deserves its throne, and one for the prosecution, holding the single most damning study ever run on it.
Exhibit for the defense. SWOT's real gift is this: in 10 minutes it puts an entire team's assumptions on one page. The quietest person in the room and the chief executive end up staring at the same grid. At its best, it surfaces a blind spot cheaply. Somebody finally says the threat everyone was thinking and nobody had spoken. It is a warm-up that gets the team talking the same language. Accessible, fast, universal, the defense rests on that.
Then the prosecution rises, and it does not bring an opinion. It brings a field study with a title so brutal it tells you the whole story. 1997. The journal Long Range Planning. SWOT Analysis. It's time for a product recall. 2 researchers, Hill and Westbrook, did something almost nobody does. They didn't theorize. They watched more than 20 companies actually use SWOT in the real world on real strategy, and what they found should have ended it. The SWOTs these companies produced averaged more than 40 factors. 40. Vague, general, often meaningless. No ranking. No weighting, and not a single attempt to verify whether any of it was even true. And that is the first crack. SWOT has no mechanism to force a choice. Every item sits in its box looking equally important. A mortal threat and a trivial one share the same size font. It generates everything and prioritizes nothing. But here is the finding that should have buried it. After the lists were made, nobody used them. They were drawn up, admired, filed, and never touched again in the actual strategy. The researchers' verdict was ice cold. It did not constitute analysis at all. It never went beyond description. And it gets worse, because SWOT quietly lies to you. Teams list the strengths they already believe they have. The opportunities and threats are just guesses about the future that no one checks. It feels like rigor. It is often a room writing down its own comforting assumptions. The great Henry Mintzberg went further. You cannot chop a living, breathing business into 4 tidy boxes and call the result a strategy. Strategy is not a list you assemble. It is a bet you make. And a bet has a cost SWOT never shows you. And then comes 2026, and the blow that finishes the argument. Because we did something you can try yourself tonight. We asked an artificial intelligence for the complete SWOT of a real company. In about 4 seconds, it produced 40 flawless, well-organized bullet points. Cleaner, broader, and better written than any boardroom would manage in a full afternoon. A perfect SWOT for free, instantly. And there is the whole trial in a single moment. If a machine can generate the entire artifact in 4 seconds, then the artifact was never the strategy. The list is now free, which means the list is worth almost nothing. And yes, the AI can even rank them for you now, but ranking is still not deciding. A beautifully ordered list with no one willing to stake their name on the top item is still not a choice. It is just a tidier description. Because strategy was never the list. Strategy is what happens next. It is looking at 40 true things and betting the company on one of them. It is the move, not the board. Michael Porter said it in one line: the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Read that again. What not to do. SWOT hands you 4 lists and asks you to cut absolutely nothing. It is the precise opposite of a decision. And it flatters you while it does it. Leverage your strengths. Fix your weaknesses. Capture the opportunities. It sounds like action. It is a to-do list wearing the costume of strategy. So why do we still love it? Because it feels productive and it offends no one. Everyone in the room contributes. Nobody is told they are wrong. Nothing is risked and nothing is decided. It is strategy theater, and theater is comfortable. So here is the ruling. SWOT, guilty. Guilty of impersonating strategy. But hear the sentence carefully, because it is not death. SWOT is genuinely good for about 10 minutes to drag a team's assumptions into the light. The crime is not using it. The crime is stopping there and calling 4 lists a plan. Because the only moment that matters comes after the boxes are full. When you stand at the crossroads and you choose the one road, knowing you are giving up the others. SWOT walks you all the way to that door, and then it leaves you standing there alone. Before I close the appeal, I put the verdict to the 3 most powerful AIs on Earth, GPT, Gemini, and Claude, and told them to tear it apart.
The verdict is basically right. SWOT is fine as a room-opening exercise, but it becomes malpractice when people mistake categorized observations for strategic choice. The single most important point is that strategy requires prioritization under constraint. If the SWOT does not force a decision, a trade-off, or a testable bet, it has not done the job.
I have to confirm the verdict, and the most critical point is the failure to connect the dots. The framework produces 4 static lists, but real strategy lives in the dynamic interaction between them, like using a specific strength to exploit a specific opportunity. SWOT generates the inventory, but completely fails to force the difficult choice of what to actually do with it.
I will confirm it with one uncomfortable addition. SWOT is not guilty of being wrong. Every box is usually true. It is guilty of being safe. It rewards you for noticing everything and committing to nothing, which feels like work while quietly avoiding the only thing that matters, a decision someone could disagree with. And in 2026, when a model can list every strength and every threat in seconds, the comfort of the complete list is exactly the trap. The value was never the 4 boxes. It was the courage to ignore 3 of them.
All 3 agree and they land on the same word: choice. The list is free now. The decision is everything. Verdict confirmed. So here is the operator's test for 2026. Fill in your SWOT if you must, but if any box has more than 3 items in it, stop. You are not analyzing, you are describing. Then do the brutal version. Circle the one strength you will actually bet the business on, the one threat that could genuinely kill you, the one opportunity you will chase with real money, and everything you did not circle you have just decided to walk past. That sentence, that is the strategy, not the grid. SWOT is not dead, but it was never the strategy you thought it was. The 4 boxes only matter the moment you find the courage to ignore 3 of them. Next time, another sacred idea of business goes on trial. This has been Business on Trial. Court is adjourned.